Morning. So it's been a few days and I've done a little bit of work each day. Starting off, obviously, as you can now see, with cutting the boat into two halves. So that went very well. There was an issue perhaps with one of the bulkheads not being fully parallel, and that meant that when I came to sand down the edges after cutting the boat, one particular edge, which is this one here, the bulkhead looked like it had bent slightly and it wasn't fully parallel. And it meant that along the line of the cut, where mostly the cut was just 0.5 millimetre or so, or either flush or not quite flush with the bulkhead, depending on exactly where the saw had gone, on this side there was a good 1 to 2 millimetre ridge where the bulkhead wasn't quite flush with the side. So rather than sand that down, I thought the best course of action was to try and fill that in with fiberglass. So I put in a couple of layers of tape and fiberglassed over that, and then put some thickened epoxy on top, and then sanded all that back, and that created a nice flat flush edge. And I then took the boat outside into the garden and bolted it together, and everything looked like it fitted together really well, so I was pretty happy with that. So of course, prior to doing that, I did actually fill in any remaining voids between the floor and the bulkheads, and then rounded it all over nicely, ready for taking the tape, the glass tape. So that all got done, and I also did a little bit of work on the starboard side aft seat. I dry fitted that. I probably spent a couple of hours doing that and trimmed it down more, and fitted I also cut the stringers to size, and those obviously need to have a slight angle planed onto them as well, so because of the angle of the transom. So that one is now screwed in place on the back. And at the moment I still think that's a little bit too high, because it's going to make it difficult to get in and put a fillet on top of the seat once that's in place. So I might drop that down by 1/4 of an inch, which means taking another 1/4 inch off the side panel at the front, and then tapering that to 0 at the back. So that would be the 3rd time I've made that cut. But this is kind of a dry fitting process, trying to get things in the right place. And once that's done, doing that on the port side will be a lot easier, because I'll know exactly what I want to do. So that's still to be done. And then I've gone and glassed over the edges between the floor and the side. Now I assumed, possibly wrongly, that would require the same level of structural strength as on the inside, because this is what holds the boat together. And so I went ahead and put in the instructions, it says C drawing, so it doesn't actually explain how to do it. It explains it all for the inside, and I was in touch with B&B and they explained what to do for the inside, how to apply the tape to be the most efficient way. And then for the external one, I've done pretty much the same. So 2 layers of tape all the way around, and then an extra 2 for the top 2/3, and then an extra 2 for the top 1/3, which means this top 1/3 section here has got 6 layers of tape on the corner. So that's going to make a really strong joint, and I thought I don't want to take any shortcuts here. I want to make this really strong, because that join is where all the bending and stresses are going to be concentrated. Especially if you're at sea in a bumpy sea, you don't want to be worried that that's going to come apart. But looking again at the drawings after doing this, it looks like there's only one sheet of tape. In fact, one sheet of fiberglass as opposed to tape. So I'm not really sure what the correct way should have been. So I did email B&B, but I've not had a reply yet for 2 days. So I'm not going to do anything more until I hear back from them. But potentially I might need to sand some of this down, because now that there's 6 layers there, that's going to make a slight, you know, it's not going to be easy to get the two halves to mate quite so flush. So I may need to do a bit of sanding on that one. Because I did this on the second day, I have actually rubbed I have used the cabinet scraper on this one to smooth those rough edges and the overlaps. So that does feel a lot smoother now, and that probably would mate up fairly well. But I suspect a little bit of sanding to try and flatten it off a bit more will be the way to go. But I'm very reluctant to sand into the fiberglass until I need to. So that's where we are, yeah. And with the leftover resin that I had, I gave a single coat of resin to this, a single coat of epoxy to this bulkhead, and I also did the forward tank. So the forward tanks now had 1 coat of epoxy as well, so that needs 2 more. So the jobs are starting to get smaller now and bittier, and so I need to start thinking of doing 2 or 3 in the same day. I can't think of just doing 1, and some of the jobs now need 3 days or 2 days. So it's going to be a question of looking for parallel streams of jobs rather than big, you know, doing the cutting all the pieces was one job, took 2 days. Anyway, that's where we are, and so that's the end of this video. So see you next time. Okay, so that's the end of another video. Remember, if you'd like to receive notifications when new videos are posted, then subscribe by clicking on the link down below. And if you've enjoyed watching the video, just please leave a like. Cheers.